Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio and welcome to day 11 of the 12 Days of Christmas quilt block series. We're working on the Christmas cottage quilt and today is house number 11. And this is a little narrow cottage with a thatched roof and 2 trees on the side. So I hope you'll stick with me and I'll show you how to make this block. Okay, I have my pattern for house number 11. And this is a narrow house and has a kind of an A-frame, not exactly an A-frame, but it's a little thatched roof. 2 windows. So we're going to go ahead and start with the door and the windows. And so I will get those pieces here. And here's the door and the door frame, the arched window and that window frame, and the rectangular window and that window frame. So I chose blue, green, and white for this house. And let's just go ahead and start. Let me get my pen. Okay, I am once again using Easy Steam 2. And this is the pressure sensitive sticky back fusible, so you can reposition things if you want to. And throughout this series I have repositioned things a lot, so I think if you've seen the other videos you know that this is pretty easy to use. It's just a different concept from something, some of the other fusibles that don't have those properties. So we've got that, and let's do the door. And I'm making the door is a dark blue with some pink and turquoise in it. Has a little gold metallic in it. And there's the door frame. It's the same as the window frames, the same fabric. When you're doing the door frames or things with these long thin pieces, just be careful that you don't let it hit the back side of the other side of the fusible, because it will stick to itself and you will not be able to get it pulled off without stretching your fabric or distorting it in some way. So because it will stick really good. Okay, there we go. Okay, and the rectangular window. And this usually just peels off really well, but I have, and it's just my hands are not very nimble right now. So if you find you have difficulty, especially with the small pieces, you can just take your pen and just pull back the corner and then peel it off. So that works really well. And it's wanting to go where I don't want it. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it looked a little strange to me there for a minute. Okay, so now we're ready to put the house together. So I'm not going to be able to get this all on this sheet unless I move things around. So let me move things a little bit. So that's one of the properties that I like about this. You can move things around. And if you have a couple of extra of these sheets, it's really good to use more than one. At the moment here at my table I only have this one, and I have another one that I have some trees already stuck to it. So let me let me move these pieces over. I'm going to just move them over and get them out of the way so I have plenty of room to work over here. There we go. Okay. And so we're going to do the roof and the chimney. That'll go like this. And this chimney will go on the left side of the house. With this chimney, or with any of the chimneys, you make them to suit your needs. If you like all your chimneys to be on the side of the house like this one was designed, do that. Of course, you can also put them right there. So however you like to do that is the way you need to do it. This one I designed to go yeah, right there, and use your guide. We'll show you how to do it, and it's supposed to kind of line up with the side of the house there. So let's go ahead and put this together, and my furnace is about ready to kick on. So let's see if I can get this done before that happens. And I'm going to go ahead and put this roof on, and then I'll put the chimney on, just to make sure I get it in the right place. And you can always peel this up, so you don't have to worry about that. So let me get this positioned where I need it. Okay, and then I can just peel up the back and position this piece in place. Okay, there goes my furnace. So I'll finish this and let the furnace kick off, and then I'll come back. Okay. Alright, I have the house fused down, and now let's add the door and the windows. So I'm just going to peel off the door, and I want to do a little bit of trimming here because I've got a little bit of the door frame sticking out, and I don't want that there. So I'm following my pattern here on the distance, and that's just like 1/4 of an inch away from the side. So I'm going to just eyeball that at this point and try and get it even at the bottom. Okay, that's pretty even, and then the arched window will go next to it. And I'm going to line that up close to the top here. And let's see. I'm going to move this over. And I did that because this looked like it was angling out, and I think it's on there straight because the edge is pretty flush, but this piece was just angled over a little bit. So I'll fix that. And then I have a rectangular window up here. And remember, when you're working on these, that you don't have to put anything on your cottages that you don't want. If you don't want this window up here, you know, don't put it on there. You can just eliminate it. You can put a circular window up there. You can do whatever you want. So here we go. This is the house. And now we need to put the block together, and here's the background. We're working on the light fabric today. First thing I need to do though is I'm going to make a couple more trees, and I like these two fabrics to put in. Since this is a narrow house, I think I can get 2 trees in there, so I'm going to go ahead and fuse some trees down, and I think this is tree number 1 and tree number 2. They're the two narrow trees. So I'm going to press that down and then just give it a light press. And then we'll do the smaller one in this color here. And with this house, I think I'm going to do this with purple to kind of bring out the purple, the pinkish purple that is in the door. So I've got blue for the blue and purple for that purple. So fuse that to the back side. And press that in place. Okay, now I'm going to cut these out. Now in the first couple of videos I go into a lot more detail on how to fuse your fabric and how to lay down your pieces and cut them out. So if this is the first video that you've seen on this series, go back and look at the first couple of videos, and that will give you a lot more information on how to do all this. But I'm basically just drawing on, or cutting on my drawn lines. And there's all kinds of noise going on upstairs. It sounds like my husband's upstairs in the kitchen. The kitchen's right above me here, so it must be snack time. Okay, so I have my trees, and at the moment I'm just going to leave the paper on the back of this, so move that out of the way. Okay, so now my house, and I want to center it pretty well, so I'm going to use my rotary cutting ruler and see, I've got, turn it this way. Okay, about 1 3/4 of an inch is right there, and that gives it 2 inches here, so it just needs to come up just a little bit. Let's do like 1 7/8. Okay, so I know I need 1 7/8 for the chimney, and I'm going to decide, I'm looking at my other houses. I have my houses on my design wall over here, and I want to see how many houses I have sitting on the left side of the block. So I've got 1 2 3 4 5. So I'm going to set this one on the right, because I only have 2 3. I only have 3 that are on the right, so we're going to set this on the right. Okay, so I'm going to peel the house off of the release paper, and I need to make sure that I'm giving myself enough space for my seam allowance. So I'm going to go over about 1 inch. And we'll do 1 7/8 here. Okay, so that can come down a little bit. And I've got it right at the 10.5 inch mark, so let's try that. And go over a little bit further. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and leave this here. Okay, so I want my trees to go here. Well, they'll be up because I'm going to have the trunks. Okay, so I have my tree trunks. I'm going to move that. I didn't realize there was a glare there. And my tree trunks. So let's go ahead and put them on. I'm going to go ahead and put these trees together on the release paper. And I'm using my grid lines as a guide. I've got the trunk going right through the center. And you may be hearing my dog. She's over here panting. It's 30 degrees outside and she was just outside. She comes in the house and she starts panting. And that's because she's got a lot of fur. Okay. Okay, so put this through the center. And line this up. That looks good. And do the same with this one. I made these trunks really long in the pattern so that you can decide how long you want them. And if they're too short for you, you know, cut them longer. I'm just going to line this one up with the base of that one. Okay, so there are my trees, and you can do them however you want. You know, put your small one next to the house or your tall one, whichever you want. And I think I will put my tall one next to the house. And so I'm going to go ahead and put this back on as a guide to get everything squared up. There's that one and this one. There we go. And then I'm going to turn it towards me so I can see if everything looks right. I don't want my trees to look like they're falling over, which this one looks a little lopsided. So let me turn him a little bit. The trunk looks straight. It's the base that looks lopsided. So. There we go. Okay. There. So there we go. That's what we've got for this house. So I'm just going to press it down a little bit more secure. And then I'm ready to steam set this so that the fusible will be permanent. So follow your directions on your fusible and do whatever that says to do. For mine, it says to use a pressing cloth with a damp pressing cloth and use steam on the iron. So I'm going to spray my cloth with water. And then lay it down. And then I hold the heat on it for 10 to 15 seconds. So I'm using my wall clock with the second hand on it to judge the time. Now, if you get this all fused down and then you realize that it's not exactly what you want, and maybe you want to change things around a bit, you won't be able to pull up your applique at this point, but you can applique over top of it. So don't feel like this is a one and done type process, because it isn't. You can always applique on top of that. So I'm going to wet this again on both sides and then fuse down the trees. And this cloth that I am using is just a piece of muslin. It's not anything special. But they do make commercial pressing cloths that you can buy. They're be in your sewing sections of your fabric stores, where all the notions are. Especially around the ironing sections, you will probably find them there. I did used to own a couple of them. I've worn them out over the years, and I just have never replaced them. So in the meantime, I just use a piece of muslin. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry for a minute, but this is all pressed and ready to go. And so here is block number 11. Okay, I've been looking at this block, and I put it on my design wall, and I decided that there wasn't enough contrast between the background and the body of the house. So there's a couple things I could do to fix that. I could do the block completely over. I could just do the house over and applique everything on top of that again, or I could put some trim on the side. So I went and I fused a couple of strips to the same fabric that is in the roof and the trim around the windows, and the same that's in the door. And I'm going to kind of audition these and see what I like. So I'm going to cut some narrow strips. It doesn't need to be a lot. It's just kind of like a buffer between the house and the background. Okay, so I have these strips that I cut with the rotary cutter, and right now I'm just going to lay them down and see if I think this will work. And of course, this would normally tuck underneath there, so what I'm going to have to do is to trim that down underneath the roof. So I have that look. I could also put like a strip across the bottom too. That's a possibility. Or put a little bush there or something. So that's the blue. And it does bring in a little bit more blue because this has got a lot of green in it. Or we could do the green. So what do you think? Okay, I have decided to go with the green, and one thing I need to do is to just trim off some of that. Okay, so what I have here is a pencil, and I'm just going to kind of outline what I've got going here, which actually on this one it just goes right along that black piece right there. So I'm going to trim that off. And see how that will fit in there. And that'll fit right in there. And then I'm going to trim the bottom off right here. Okay, and take my pen and take off the release paper. And just guide that right in that groove right there. And why I chose the green is because this will just blend in with the roof. It won't stand out. If I went with the blue fabric, it would stand out. And then you would notice if that seam wasn't, you know, butted up together real good. So that's why I did that. So this is just a way to get a little extra contrast between this house and the background. So ideally this is something that I probably should have used on the darker background fabric, but I didn't, and I still wanted to use it, so I went ahead and took the chance that it would work, and it would be okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just I wanted more contrast than what I was getting with this, so that's why I'm doing it over. And I'm not overlapping anything, I'm just butting those edges next to each other. And then I'll trim this. There we go. And now I have the contrast that I need to make this house stand out from the background. So there we go. I'm liking that a lot better. And I think there's enough green down here that that'll give me the contrast that I need down on this area, so I don't feel like I need to put another strip across there. So, problem solved. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.